What's up, everybody? It's your favorite show, Get a Buck. Stupid. I wish the signal would be better, bro. Fuck. Shit's ass. All right. What's up, everybody? It's your favorite show, Get a Bucket. I'm your host, Trey, and as usual, hope you're all having a wonderful, wonderful day. Now, today we're going to talk about the NBA players, or I guess entities, whichever one you want to classify it as, most pressured in the NBA playoffs. All right. But before we talk about them, please make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Comment, tell anyone about the show. Try and get the ratings up a little bit, just a little bit. But like I said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about the NBA's most pressured players, or at least entities, however you want to classify it. And again, we're talking about for the playoffs specifically, 2025. So with that being said, let's go ahead and mention my honorable mentions, right? And for full disclosure, there are 16 NBA playoffs teams. So I got 16 entities to talk about, but we're going to talk about them kind of quickly, not going to hem and haw. So with that being said, let's bring up the honorable mentions. And with that, let's start it off with the Houston Rockets, ladies and gentlemen. Now, the Houston Rockets, we got to talk about them because of their Western seeding. They're a top 3 seed in the Western Conference. That's a tough task right there. That's pretty stout. And keep in mind, this Western Rocket squad ain't bad, especially considering that they're young. And that's the actual biggest gripe about them. They're young, they're inexperienced. So there's a little bit of pressure on them, but also because they're young, we extend a little grace. We're not expecting them to be contenders right now. Just a little pressure. But at number 8, you got to put them there. Or at least number 16, 8, honorable mention. Y'all know the vibes. But we're going to move on now to the number 17 honorable mention, which is the Miami Heat. And the reason why I have him here, ladies and gentlemen, Jimmy Butler. The trade. I understand why we trade Jimmy. I genuinely, wholeheartedly do. But the problem is when you trade Jimmy Butler, now the eyes are on you. Okay, what are we going to do? Who going to be the guy? And I have some Heat fans that have some question marks. So again, the Jimmy trade did put more pressure on this Heat team. Are y'all still relevant? End of day? We'll find out. But we'll move on down to the number 6 honorable mention, which is Austin Reaves. Hear me out, ladies and gentlemen. This is kind of a troll, but I also blame his stands as well. Because Austin Reaves stands act like he's the second coming of a Larry Bird. Like they act like he the next superstar. And that's cool, buddy. Cool. He been hooping. But now there's pressure on Austin Reaves. And keep in mind, if it wasn't for his stance, I wouldn't put him up here. But if he plays similarly to how D'Lo played, I remember how people went at D'Lo. So you got to go at Austin Reaves the same way. And keep in mind, it was only one team that D'Lo played bad against. So if Austin Reaves has a bad series, you kind of got to talk about him in a similar breath. So there's going to be a little pressure on Austin Reaves. But again, mainly put him up here because of his stance. It is somewhat of a troll. So let's move on up to the next player, which is Jaylen Brown, someone who should be up here. Honorable mention. Reason why he's up here, Finals MVP. He's the reigning Finals MVP. I'm not putting all the pressure on him, but you still got to perform. You still got to execute. You can't slack off, really. So, again, Jaylen Brown, if he doesn't win a championship this year, we can't say he's trash. But there's a little bit of pressure on him to make sure he performs at all times, at least most times. But, again, Finals MVP, champion, he's earned some grace. Similarly to the next person, which number 4 for me, Nikola Jokić. Chip relevancy is the real reason why the pressure's on him. Because if we look at someone like a Steph Curry, Steph won in 2022 and then hasn't won since. 2024, I started to basically hear people saying he fell off, right? Well, if Jokić don't win this year, can we say the same thing about Jokić too? Even though he's been dominating, Steph was hooping too now. So I'm looking to see what that conversation is for Jokić. But pressure, not that much. Because, again, Finals MVP, champion, relatively recent. Just saying. So let's move on up to the next team, the next person. Anthony Edwards at number 3, ladies and gentlemen. Now, for right now, he's in that grace phase where he's still young, and we kind of give him grace because he's not winning a championship. But eventually, we are going to expect you to start winning a championship. So, again, Anthony Edwards right now, don't expect him to win. If he does win, that's cool. But I wouldn't expect him to win a championship at the current point in time. They're still trying to build up his team around him. It's cool. He's in that great space, like I said. So no pressure for real. Honorable mention, but he will be coming up pretty soon, if I'm being honest with you. Maybe 2 more seasons, I'd say. But let's move on up now to number 2. Luka. I'm curious if Luka didn't get traded, where I would have put him. But because he just got traded, I can't say he has the most pressure out of everybody in the NBA. Because, again, he just got traded. Our team is not built around him completely. We still got to figure out the pieces, like I said earlier. So, again, Luka at number 2 for me, not putting that much pressure on him, but there is still some pressure because you're on the Lakers. You're playing with Braun. You did just get to the finals with perceived a worse team roster. A lot of people might say. Some might try to argue the Mavs were better. But, again, because you're on a team with Braun, it's going to be a little pressure. So, I'm not putting all the pressure on Luka just yet. Starting next year, he probably will be in my top 8. Right now, honorable mention. And number 1 for honorable mention, this one was terrible, but it was Philly. And I would put them higher, but they out the damn playoffs, which is piss poor. But again, injuries happen, so I understand that. Embiid, Paul George, I get you. Tyrese Maxey even had a little injury. They got dismantled even more so than their stars as well, too. Jared McCain got injured, bro. Like, come on now. Like, everybody got injured. So I'm going to give them a little grace, just a little grace. But there is pressure, especially if this team comes back next year. There's definite pressure. They could be the most pressured entity in the NBA. But again, ladies and gentlemen, these are my top 8 honorable mentions. Philly, Luka, Anthony Edwards, Nikola Jokić, Jaylen Brown, Austin Reaves, the Miami Heat, Houston Rockets. Maybe I should put Austin Reaves down at number 8. I don't know. The stands really matter that much. I promise you, they're really that annoying. And you know what? You might not like this. I'm sorry. But again, ladies and gentlemen, those are my honorable mentions. So let's go ahead and talk about the top 8 officially. I think it might be a good one. So we have here the Knicks at number 8. Let's talk about it, shall we? Because y'all could be wondering why the Knicks are here. You got Brunson's injury, plus the organization. They've been trying to hype up this team for the longest, right? There were expectations of them getting to the finals. So, pressure on this Knicks team, you got to put it up there. And I would throw them higher, I'm not going to lie to you, because they have a lot of pieces up there. This is a star-studded team. At least on paper, it should be a star-studded team. There's other couple teams up there, though. Other couple situations that matter a little bit more. And that's kind of shocking because, again, a lot of talk was about these Knicks this offseason. So it's very shocking. It's very shocking. But they trying to get this championship. That's what they're trying to do. I don't know if they're going to get it. So expect to hear some gripes during this whole season. But let's go ahead and move on up to the next team. I'm sure y'all want to know who I'm talking about next. And that's Dame and Giannis. Dame and Giannis. And the reason why I have Dame here is because of the Damian Lillard acquisition. Remember, he wanted out of Portland. Everybody was giving him grace because he was still in Portland trying to get it out the mud, right? You pair with Giannis. I understand you got the calf issue, the blood clots. Even still, there's pressure on the Bucks getting somewhat decently far in the playoffs. Because you got to think about Giannis leaving. He wants one of these. He's had all of these. Like, come on now. He's had the championship rings. He's had the MVPs, all that stuff, bro. Like, he is star-studded out here. Will he get that with the Bucks? So, again, that Damian Lillard acquisition, that was the expectation. So, if we can't get that, that's tough because Giannis could leave, potentially going to my Lakers and forming the best international duo in NBA history with Luka. That could happen, just saying. So again, ladies and gentlemen, Giannis and Dame, not the Bucks, Giannis and Dame, because they could shake up some stuff. But let's move on up to number 6, someone who is kind of familiar with Giannis and Dame, actually. Jimmy Butler. That's right. He's with some boys that have gotten this hardware. You know what I'm saying? They've had all of these. I got to throw Jimmy at number 6 because, hey, when you look at Jimmy, the season antics that he had, you got to prove that you trade worthy. And trade worthy for the Warriors mean, hey, you winning championships or at least getting to the finals or looking competitive. And Jimmy Butler with Steph going up against the Celtics, that's good entertainment right there. So again, ladies and gentlemen, Jimmy Butler does have some pressure on him because of the antics that he had with the Miami Heat. And now you're on the Warriors. Just saying. You got to make it work. You got to make it work, brother. Now, let's go ahead and talk about my top 5. Because my top 5 most pressure, they are really trying to get this championship here. And they got a lot of eyes on them, ladies and gentlemen. So I got to make sure I talk about these 5 players, all right? Number 5 at Jason Tatum. I'm sure y'all knew JT had to be in the top 5. Because, again, Jaylen Brown already won the Finals MVP. So if they win again and JT don't win, you have to talk about the Celtics stars as Jaylen Brown, number 1, Jason Tatum, number 2. And keep in mind, JT got a ring. Boom. He come from good stock. He got a championship. All he missing is the Finals MVP. That's it. Or an MVP too, I guess, a league MVP. But that's another discussion for another day. But most pressure for playoffs, JT at number 5. You got to say that. Yeah, his team's solid. He got to hoop too. That's the problem, bro. He got to hoop his tail off. Woo! Best of luck to you, champ. Best of luck to you. But that's what pressure breeds. Anyway, number 4, Donovan Mitchell. Here's the problem. All right. I don't necessarily believe in Donovan Mitchell as your one option on a championship team. I think it's a little shaky if you banking on him being the one option, right? Yes, the Cavs have been playing well. They look nice. I hear you. People said the same thing about Utah. Oh, well, this Cavs team is better than Utah. I hear you. I got to see it to believe it, man. So, again, there's pressure on Donovan Mitchell because last year I was hearing, well, the Cavs team didn't do well. They have enough talent on this squad. They have enough depth on this squad to make it so that it's now on Donovan Mitchell. And if he doesn't, I'm going to be curious what a lot of people that I know say about Donovan Mitchell. I'm going to be curious what a lot of fans say about Donovan Mitchell. Are y'all finally on my wavelength with saying Donovan Mitchell maybe need to be a second option on a championship team? Just saying. But again, maybe he can prove me wrong. But let's see what happens. Until then, let's move on up to the third most pressured player. And that is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, he's at the MVP season yet again. His team is number 1 in the West yet again. So if you don't go far in the playoffs yet again, we're going to be talking about you a little bit differently going in the future. Now, you might have another MVP season next season, right? And you could very well win it. Look at Joel Embiid, for example. The fear is if you don't start winning further in the playoffs, people will probably start trying to compare you to Joel Embiid, which is tough. There are some similarities. There are some differences between your games. But there's pressure on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, ladies and gentlemen, this season. So, again, if they don't go far, look for maybe one more season until people start falling off the Shai Gilgeous-Alexander bandwagon. Maybe I'm being a little too early, a little too premature. But it's him being the guy that can start to waver as early as after next season. But let's see what happens, though. Let's see what happens. Because we got to talk about another player, number 2 on my list. And ladies and gentlemen, that's Ja Morant. Keep in mind, all right, I don't expect Memphis to be a contender, right? Like, they probably will lose to the Warriors. If they don't, cool. But like, I'd be a little surprised if they beat the Warriors. But here's the thing, because Ja's doing all the guns and all that stuff, and like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I hear you. They're cool sellies. They're cool sellies, bro. Like the grenade one, that one's cool. Problem is the antics that we had just last season would prevent you from doing that if we're talking about a marketing purpose. And again, remember, the NBA is a business. Got to remember that. So if we need you to stop doing certain stuff, because you put the spotlight on yourself, champ, and you're now saying, nah, I'm going to double down and do more sellies. All right, cool. Well, that means you got to dominate. That means your team got to beat the Warriors, because if not, brother, you're not going to be as relevant as people as you're trying to make yourself to seem. I mean, good talent. But if your team don't win, you're going to be viewed as tradable real quick. And I already said you probably could be traded, keep it stacked with you. But it'd be tough to trade you to. It's similarly to Zion. You want to keep him, but at the same time, I understand trading him. But again, there's pressure on John Morant, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm paying very close attention to how John Morant performs, because you got a lot of pressure on you this playoffs. But the most pressured players or entities, however you want to classify them, for me, ladies and gentlemen, number one, and it's a three-way tie. And it's disgusting, too, because one of these boys ain't even in the playoffs. But it's Steph, Braun, and Kevin Durant. KD. You know what I'm saying? Like, you might be wondering why in the world is Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is not anywhere close to a championship this season. So why is he on this list? Well, him, Braun, and Steph right now are technically the closest things to chasing MJ's legacy that we have in today's game. So because of that, those three are on this list. Keep in mind, let's say, I don't expect this to happen, but let's say Kevin Durant rattles off a three-peat right quick. Now we're talking about 5 rings, 2 losses. And that's all right. That's all right. That changes a lot right there. So again, technically, I'm going to keep him up there. But y'all see he at the end. It's Steph and Braun. And Steph and Braun ain't in no specific order. I just typed them in there as such. But they got pressure again because we're chasing Braun, or because we're chasing Jordan. Imagine if we can't win. Imagine if Steph gets out in the play, and that's going to be tough on the legacy. Because again, you just acquired Jimmy. Y'all got a good squad. Should be able to win. Hell, the Grizzlies just fired their coach. How can you not win? Y'all have more cohesion. Y'all been playing better recently. I expect y'all to win. And then with Braun, hey, you got Luka. Austin Reaves has been snapping. Like, we got a squad, right? Like, we have a contending squad. Both teams are contenders. That should breed some pressure, especially if we're champions. If there was pressure when Kobe Bryant was on the Lakers in 2010 and 09 and 08, how come we can't have pressure on these boys now? Let's stop being soft, ladies and gentlemen. Let's put these boys right here as number one for pressure. When they retire, cool, we can move them off the list. But until then, they got the most pressure. They do. If they win another one, maybe we can drop them down again. Because y'all saw how I treated Jokić and Jaylen Brown. Hell, JT ain't ahead of Donovan Mitchell and Shea and John Morant. So again, can't be too soft with these boys. Can't be. We talking about championships. Not the regular season. We talking about championships. But again, ladies and gentlemen, y'all heard the listing for the most pressure. Y'all heard the most listing. Or y'all heard the listing for the most pressured players or entities in the NBA for the playoffs. So with that does conclude the episode. And I'm curious what you all think. So definitely comment below and make sure you share me your answers. But also, please like, subscribe, comment, tell anyone about the show. My name is Trey. I'm the host of Get a Bucket. Hope you all are having a good one. Take care.